Administrative Workshop to order, and we'll stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And Carly, if you can call the roll, please.
Schneidinger.
Here.
McAleese.
Here.
Thompson.
Here.
Reed.
Here.
Penny.
Here. All right, our first item today for discussion is a sunshine law review. Who's handling that fun stuff?
Yes.
Start over. Krista.
All right, so sunshine law is covered by the Florida Statute 286.011. And I know most of you are very familiar with it, so I will keep it short. I know you have your 4-hour ethics training, and you've all, I'm sure, seen the giant manual. So this is just a brief review. Basically, everything that is city business must be under the Florida sunshine. That includes any discussion amongst the commission that is city business must be at a meeting that is open to the public, reasonably noticed, and that minutes are taken at. That includes a discussion between 2 or more of you. And any discussion, whether it's text messages, emails, phone calls, you're at an event together and you go get some hors d'oeuvres, no city business may be discussed at any time. And it's important to remember with emails, like sometimes Carly will send out the agenda. Don't reply all to those emails. It's just a good reminder, not necessarily that reply all is a violation, but if you replied after that, we get into kind of dangerous territory. So good reminder just to not reply all to those emails, because that's all amongst you guys. And then public records as well, that leads me into that. Everything that is city business that's written down is a public record. There are a few exceptions, but it's best if you have a question about whether it's public record, it's probably a public record. So that includes, again, your text messages. That includes drafts, even if it has a watermark draft on the back, it's a public record. If it's been shared with anybody else, if it's stored in city property at all, it's public record. So just keep that in mind. If you take notes at a meeting, you don't share them with anyone else, that's fine. That's your personal notes. But don't share them with anyone else, because then they become public record.
So your written notes are not public record?
If you don't share them with anyone else,
Okay.
but as soon as you show them to someone else, they become public record.
Okay,
They don't communicate information
okay,
beyond yourself.
good point.
Another thing about the sunshine law as well is city staff cannot be used as a go-between between commissioners. So if you have a conversation with someone from city staff, that staff member is not allowed to go talk to another commissioner about what you discussed. That's the point of these meetings. So you'll have to wait until the public meeting. And I know Carly does a great job of sending the agenda out early so you can see what's going to be at that meeting. But staff's just not allowed to be in that position. So please remember that a violation of the sunshine law or the public record law is a criminal misdemeanor. It is very serious, so we don't want to get the city in that type of situation. You can also be fined, or that decision about which the discussion was made could be voided, which is also a really bad position for the city to be in. So please try to avoid this, but if you have any questions, you can obviously call me, email me. But that's kind of the basic overview, and if you have any questions, let me know.
Okay. Yeah, I remember when I started many moons ago, the attorney had told me about the scenario. She said, so if Commissioner A came into my office and said, I want to put on the agenda that the sky is pink, discuss it. And then Commissioner B comes in and says, I want to put on it that it's purple. I can't tell them that the other one's already put it on there for discussion. So it's just going to be one item on there, but just, you can't let them know. So it's just kind of, got to keep it kind of quiet. Anyway, thank you. I think it's always good to get a refresher. And of course, we have our 4 hours, as she said, of continuing education every year that we have to take. And they always have that available online for you, or you can go in person to the Florida League. Some of the conferences, they have them there. So
Yeah, the summer conference, they always are.
yeah, but it is a long 4 hours, and it's
For the
I recommend
Florida,
the video version.
for the Florida League, Tom, do you know if they're going to, because it was really hard to get one last year. They did, to get it online. Do they have like an online where you're not paying for that? I mean, 'cause some of
I
these.
just
so
watched,
yeah,
I watched the
there's-
training on YouTube for free. It
Yeah.
basically is a self-reporting thing.
Well, they have the ones where you can do an hour at a time.
Yeah.
So
Oh, right, yeah, I did the
Yeah.
4-hour.
If you
Yeah.
ever get stuck, please reach out, because we have sort of like a list of
Places you can
resources,
go.
yeah,
Okay,
that
great.
you can
Yeah,
kind of
there's
do.
Because it's best to get that done sooner than later.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right, good. Okay. Our next next two items, we're just not even gonna talk about, because we don't wanna spend any money. No, first one is CID is looking for a vehicle request.
Yes, I will talk on that. Do y'all want me to come down there, or am I mistaken? It's up to
You're
you.
good there, we can
Okay.
have it,
That's
so,
fine.
Yep.
So Terry had reported previously that one of her department's vehicles was having some issues,
Yeah.
and they'd sent it into the shop. The repair estimate was much higher than we expected. It was between $7,000 and $8,000 to repair it.
Yeah.
Looking at Blue Book on the vehicle, it was only between 6 and 8 for Blue Book. So we started kind of looking for options. It's not budgeted for this year, it's budgeted for next year, I believe. Jim, is that correct?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
remember right.
Yeah, so we're gonna have to do a budget amendment, but the good news is we've been able to locate a vehicle that is significantly lower than what we have budgeted for next year.
Oh.
So if we're able to do a budget amendment to roll it into this year, there's a vehicle that is ready because it was ordered by another entity and then canceled, so it's off of a government contract. We have budgeted 45 to 46,000 for the purchase of a vehicle next year. The vehicle that we have the opportunity to get is just under 30, and they've offered 5,000 on the trade-in for this vehicle, which puts us right about 25.
Oh, that's good.
So now it's a small pickup truck rather than a small SUV, but they're fine
Oh.
with that.
Maverick?
Is it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Those are great.
Yeah, it's
So
basically a
Terry's
Forest, yeah.
totally fine with that. It's basically ready, and they're just waiting on us to get consensus to do it. So it's much cheaper than we were gonna spend next year. I'm just asking if you all are
Well,
okay
she
with
also
that.
said that there was a lot of rot on the bottom of
Oh, yeah,
there.
we're all rusted out.
Yeah.
So that's gonna be another problem
Yeah.
later on. Even
And what
if
year
we-
was that one that they have now? Do you remember?
16?
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's an old vehicle.
Yeah.
low
Um,
miles but old.
Yeah.
So you need consensus, and then we need to vote on the budget amendment? at
Yeah,
some
so the
point?
budget amendment will come forward later when Jim has it prepared, but we wouldn't do it without a
With
consensus from
consensus, you
you
can
all,
go ahead
because
and,
the money's not in the budget right now to buy a car, and she needs a car.
Yeah.
So consensus
just
to
curious,
trade
what
in this one. and buy
Contract are
the
they
one.
using on that?
I think that was,
FSA?
Alan J. Sourcewell. Alan J.
Sourcewell? Okay.
Yeah, it's
And
coming from,
then-
it's a Sourcewell contract,
Yeah.
it's a Sourcewell
Okay,
vendor.
everybody,
Yeah,
good?
that's a
let's
good
move
price.
forward?
Yes.
Okay, great.
Especially
We
a
got
good trading
consensus.
value for that.
Yeah, when they said 5, we weren't sure,
Yeah.
we were looking at the Blue Book, and we're like, that's not bad.
It's
based
going
on that
straight
Blue
to
Book.
auction.
So, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, not bad at all, so, okay.
Cool.
All right. The next one would be Community Improvement Department staffing.
That one's me also. We had talked a little bit at the last workshop, basically about how the state and federal funding was gonna be ending because the state of emergency was ending, it was not extended. So we had talked about, we have staff helping us to try to maintain a level of service, but knowing that the funding for that was going away, asking you all, do we reduce that level of service, or are we accepting an increased cost to try to maintain that extra help? You all had given the indication of maintaining the level of service was important. So we have temporarily kept on the temp employee that had been sent to us. We have a 2-week agreement in place with them right now to keep the same person, just because he was familiar with what was going on. We're concerned about the cost of that long term. Their admin hourly rate is $80 an hour, which we understand that having a temp is going to be a higher hourly than what you would pay that position if they were on staff. But
I'll do it
that,
for 75.
got right.
$74.99.
We've gone back and forth with them, and just I don't see how we can make the numbers work for that to be worth it for the city.
Isn't it?
So we've kind of looked at our pay scale, and so what staff would propose is the creation of basically a full-time temporary position that would be an employee for either a year, basically roughly an 18-month contract. My thought was through the end of the next fiscal year, and make that clear upon posting that it's basically a full-time temp, and add that position to our maintenance 1 pay scale, which at $80 an hour for 35 hours a week for a year, that comes to about $145,000 a year. So we looked at it, if you were to do the maintenance 1 pay plan, even starting someone at step 6, which is midway through, pay plus benefits comes to about 72. So it's like half the cost
Yeah, it's
to
no
hire
brainer.
somebody
It
on.
goes to when, did you say?
Our thought was, Terry thinks she needs at least a year. In her field, they say to recover from a major storm, you need to plan for about 2 years. So we're a little bit into it. She said a minimum of a year, which we also felt if it was going to be a temporary position, a year is probably the minimum that would be fair to get somebody good. If you're going to get somebody good, they're not going to come in for a couple of months.
This person's gonna be mostly admin there?
Yes,
Answer phones,
answering
talking to
phones,
people?
filing, just like the phone is constantly ringing. There's paper. They need extra hands.
Yeah,
So our thought was a year or potentially through the end of next fiscal, which would be the end of September of 2026. So not quite 18 months.
Yeah.
And we could always reevaluate at this time next year going into that next budget, but we feel like we'd need
And
to do it
she
for at
feels
least a
pretty
year.
confident that she can get somebody on a temporary basis?
I think so, as long as you give at least a year. We were pretty, because she doesn't feel like they need to have any specific background coming in. We can, as long as they are familiar with an administrative level of work, the rest of it, she can, they don't need a ton of industry experience. She's like, I just need help with phones and taking messages and just recognizing which one of my staff gets which paper, just
Right.
scanning, that kind of thing. And she's like, I can teach that. So,
that makes a lot of sense.
that was our
A lot of the
thought.
money,
So,
even though we know that covers their insurance, their benefits and everything, that's why it's
which, and we
charged.
looked
And a
into
profit,
it,
of
yeah,
course.
you can't legally have somebody, even if it's
Yeah.
considered a temp position for that long, you have to put benefits.
Yeah,
So,
Okay. so, would you just need consensus from us then on that one too?
if we can get consensus, then we would factor that into the budget amendment that Jim would be working on, but if we have your consensus, we would start that process
Start looking for
now,
that person now.
basically, yeah,
Yeah.
we would start looking to hire right
She's gotta
away.
have it.
So right now, we're looking for the person for the 2-year period or 1-year period?
I was thinking the end of next fiscal, so a little less than a year and a half, just to make it
Okay.
easier to just budget for it all of next fiscal.
Okay. But if we have to, we can.
But we could reevaluate it this time next year,
Yeah,
going into that budget, the potential of extending it. That was our thought.
okay.
So,
Well, we're going into hurricane season,
Right.
So
so,
you would be able to
What's
guarantee this
inside
person
the
at least a 1-year?
correct. We
boy.
would be, if you all are okay with it, we would guarantee through the next fiscal year.
Okay.
So September of 2026.
Yeah.
And at what rate?
I mean, it would depend on the person coming
Right,
in.
but
We were
bulk.
just looking at ballpark. So if they came in at start, the wages plus benefits and everything comes to about 64.7. If
Okay.
we looked at mid-range, so let's say someone came in with some office experience and we wanted
Right.
to start them mid-range at like step 6, that's about 72.5,
Okay,
which is salary and benefits.
Right.
So that would be the cost to the city there. Which again, hiring a temp is gonna be much,
Right.
much more than that.
yeah, yeah.
It's painful. It's
Yeah.
painful.
So you said maintenance 1, so it wouldn't be like an administrative reception
No,
position
so
type thing?
the maintenance 1 position is lower than our administrative secretary
It is.
position. Yeah, it
Okay.
is.
All right,
So,
all right then. I guess, I'm okay with it.
I'm okay
Everybody
with it.
yeah, I
else?
think it's good.
All right, we're good there.
okay.
And I think you had an item you wanted to discuss with us today on the handbook as well?
I did, yes. So we had a situation, kind of come to our attention after the agendas went out, so apologies for sort of springing it on you. There have been some positions added with the city over the last couple of years that have made a couple of the policies in the handbook a little bit, more restrictive than we feel they should be. Specifically, there's a policy in the handbook right now for relating to the employment of relatives. The city's policy has always been that relatives can be employed with the city as long as they're not in any position where one would supervise the other or foreseeably could supervise the other. That's always kind of been our policy. The handbook was rewritten in 2017 and some of that language was changed. That remains there. There was a clause added after that to basically say, furthermore, we will not allow for any related employees to be employed within the same department. We've found that is potentially overly restrictive when we now have positions in some departments that would never reasonably supervise each other. And so with the difficulty that we've had in some hiring processes, there's just not great candidates out there. We feel that that's a bit more restrictive than
Yeah, it's a
we
little
would
rough.
like the city to be. So if you have a position within another department that is completely unrelated and would never supervise the other, would we want to be that restrictive? And so my question to you would be, would you allow us to amend that? And for full transparency, there is a hiring process going on right now where this would potentially apply. And so I wanted to get your
I mean,
feedback.
I think that's a little much. I mean, I know when I started, it was the original version of which we just, if you couldn't, you can't
You
supervise
can't
somebody.
supervise,
Right.
correct?
But working in the same department, I mean, sometimes you get great maintenance people out there that, work in the public works or whatever that might be family. You might get somebody in another department, they're not gonna supervise each other. And same thing in admin, we've got all these new departments we've brought in, you know, with marketing and IT and everything else, and, they're never gonna mish. You know, I think we should, yeah. I mean, especially if might lose somebody because of this little clause that's in there, that might be a good potential, so.
So if you all are okay with that, I'd like to bring forward an amendment to the handbook at the May meetings, but also with your consensus, then I could address some internal situations that may come up, knowing that you all are okay with amending that policy in the handbook.
Sounds good, yes.
Yep.
Thank you.
We have anybody else?
I just wanted to say, Jim is gonna be putting out a report for us at least monthly, preferably at this administrative workshop. And, I gave everybody a copy, including the directors. If anybody's got any questions or for Jim, or Jim, you have anything that you wanna point out on this report?
Jim,
Because it's really important for us to know
it's very clear.
what's
It's,
going on, you know,
yeah.
financially,
It's very easy
from,
to follow.
on a more regular basis.
I see you got 2 months here, March and April, yeah.
Well, what I got is, this thing's got 2 fiscal years. The hurricane cost started at the very end of '24, so there's a little bit of cost in '24 in the left column. Bulk of it is in fiscal '25. And this is a calculation I did just to try to get an idea of where we would be. Down below, you'll see amount to be covered by property insurance, FEMA, or our reserves. And in fiscal year '25, it was $1,294,000, plus the 55 brings it to about $1,350,000. But I think I did a little thing at the end that kind of just blurbs out what my thoughts are. The biggest things on here is I have a summary of what we've actually paid to date. For damages for both years, it's $805,455. That's actually gone out. Wages over and above what our regular wages are, plus Social Security, about $168,000. So we're out of pocket about $974,000 year to date. The second page, summary of items that are outstanding. The 2 biggest ones are our debris hauling and our debris monitoring. You see those are about 700, I think 717,000, I think they total to. And then I threw in there the quote that we got to bring City Hall up to pre-storm conditions. That's an old quote, so God only knows if it'll hold up. But they had quoted $422,000.
And that's not with hardening, that's just bringing it back
Just
to the
bringing
way
it
it
to
looked.
pre-storm condition.
Because we
Right.
did talk about getting quotes for hardening, too.
Yeah, so that number is gonna float, it's gonna go up and down until we get numbers from Wanamaker. They're supposed to be giving us some options, and so we can decide what direction we're gonna go. But the point there is we got about $1,140,000 outstanding that we gotta pay. Debris hauling and the monitoring, we should be paying pretty quickly here. We're kinda sitting on it because of the size of it until they scream, plus we're looking at the numbers. We had
Right.
some differences on some of the numbers, but, and then Gail had kinda said, hey, where are our reserves at? And, on that second page, on the general fund, the bolded number there, I gave you our cash balance as of March 31st and our fund balance. Our fund balance mimics our cash in most cases. Fund balance is really equity minus liabilities. We don't have a lot booked during in our interim. We're not really accruing, so there's no really liabilities, so they're pretty close. But general fund had $9.4 million in the fund. My note at the bottom says, keep in mind, we've collected most of our ad valorem taxes for the year, which is $4+ million. We collect those November through January. We pretty much have 95% collected. So that money is sitting in the bank. It's in that $9 million. Over the next 6 months, there won't be any more revenues, but your expenses are gonna stay constant, so you'll see that reserve kind of taper down toward the end of the year. Capital projects, we got $4,791,000 in that account, and you can see fund balance is about the same. I tried to give kind of projections of where I thought they were going, and if you look at those, you'll see that I feel those are our two biggest funds where we're gonna have the hurricane activity. I think we're sitting well as far as cash balances and fund balances.
We're doing good.
Yeah, you know, and that's contingent upon what we do with the building downstairs. If we did that, we would probably apply for grants if we, you know, hopefully we'd have some of that covered. But based on this, I felt like we were in good shape. Sewer fund's got about $2.1 million. Reclaimed water's got $2 million in there. Total cash right now for the city is $18,018,500 basically. So, I just kind of feel like we're in a good, solid position right now. And I kind of state that in the narrative down below what I just told you. So, when you get a chance, just read that. And I don't anticipate these numbers changing. I think we're past probably a lot of the big stuff. We might keep, you know, dribbling in costs, you know, smaller cost. The biggest cost is going to be downstairs. So that's kind of where we're at.
Anybody have any questions on?
I just have a quick question for clarity. So everything's very self-explanatory except debris monitoring. I'm sure that's exactly what it sounds like, but who and what is that?
Tetra Tech is who it is. When the debris hauler takes it to the dump site, you're required by FEMA
Let's turn the air down first, so.
to have somebody observe the load.
Oh, is that, so it's a FEMA rule?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
guideline,
yeah.
all right.
I mean, in the old days, they used to have monitors because in the old days, they talked about watering down the debris to make it heavier when they were doing it by tier weight. So
Okay.
these monitors are here to make sure that what's coming in is what
I went by one of
They
the
literally
dump
drive
Okay.
behind them
sites. I went by one of the dump
and
sites.
watch what
and
they do
They
and
actually
check
had
their
guys sitting in
numbers.
towers
to make
Okay.
sure that they're not
watching all
scamming
the
people.
garbage.
Yep.
Well, I noticed observers when they were going and actually picking it up, guys on
Yeah, they do
motorcycles
the size.
behind it.
They
Yeah.
do both ends of it.
So it's a
They
FEMA
will-
rule, we pay 10% for somebody to watch the people that are cleaning up.
Yep.
All right, just curious. All right, that's roughly what it, all right. All
So
right. Thank
Well,
you, I
because they were
appreciate that.
picking up the furniture and the trash and all of that, and then they were also picking up like the tree limbs and
Everything's gotta be separate.
They have
It's
to
gotta
do it
be-
the right
it had to
way
be
and they
separate.
can't- Yeah.
so, and you did see them kind of following whichever truck
Yeah.
was picking up what
They follow along
through the,
behind.
after this.
You know, in
But that's a
Pinellas Park, you
FEMA
could see the
requirement.
trucks were lined up. It was taking so long because they were lined up down to the street.
Right.
Interesting. All right, thank you.
Question though.
Right. Anybody else, any questions for Jim? And anything else from
I was gonna
any other
hand,
department? We're
I
good?
was gonna, well,
Okay, all right, well, we are going to
I was
adjourn
gonna
then.
hand this, I was gonna hand this out to y'all
Maybe
just
not.
real quick. Yeah.
Think we have this? Is this key points?
Maybe we're not gonna adjourn.
No, this
This
is,
is different?
this is just a draft. I'm working on it. I'm gonna try to get an ordinance through, basically just updating us on some of the things that we've already approved. Can you hand this to Carly back there? Okay, and it's just a draft. Just wanted to kind of go through some of them with you, just to not scare you when it comes through. Basically, if you read through this thing, one thing we had talked about months ago, in the original budget, we budgeted for the sale of the old fire station property. I got $1,288,150 in the budget. I'm gonna take that out. I think per our discussion, we decided we were gonna possibly keep that property. And so I'm just kinda touching base to make sure.
The old station.
The old station, yeah. And that number is low. We got an appraisal came in a little bit later at $1.4 million actually on the property. But that was based on the just market value on the property appraisal website when we did the budget. But if that's okay, I'm gonna take that out of the budget. I don't think we'll be selling it before the end of this fiscal year regardless, so. So I wanted to take that out. Couple other items. One, I have to touch base with Terry Sullivan real quick, but we talked about hiring an inspector and a plans examiner. As a matter of fact, I think we approved a contract last week, and I came up with $82,500 I'd like to add to the budget for that. It was, I was using rates of $105 and $120 an hour. I don't know if the rates changed on that contract.
For Bureau Veritas?
Yeah, I didn't see the rates on
think it should
what I
be the
looked at,
same.
so.
That's why they have the extra licensing as well, for those people to be able to get it.
I'm sorry?
Is that why they have the extra licensing on here you have for the
Well, that's for
software?
her two positions. She needed one license when she brought in her FEMA help, but then she's got a planner will be coming on staff, I
Well,
assume.
no, that's not, that's for like consulting services. Like a Joe Payne or Safe Built kind of.
No, the $82,500, but he's asking about the licenses. We got two more Tyler licenses.
Right, one for your fund, yeah.
My understanding was we got
Permitting and
one
licensing
for
software.
the person that was sitting in that extra seat, but I know we're gonna bring on another staff, so I'm assuming that's who the second license is for.
Could be.
Okay.
So that was a request Terry made. And then you see I put $33,250 for the new full-time temporary office assistant. What that is, it's the $72,000. It's 5.5 months worth. So I would add that to the budget for 2025. And then when we do the new budget, we would put a full year in there. So, $750 I'm gonna add for the John Maroney Legacy Foundation. We paid $1,500, we budgeted $750, so I just wanted to get the extra money in there to cover that line item. 13.6 for security cameras in City Hall, and you'll also see down below where we had security cameras in CID. Those were 12.5, I believe. Yep, 12.5. In addition, I'm going to add 12,400 for fire station fuel tank removal. Chief's got quotes, and the lowest one was 12.4, so I'm going to add that to the budget. And we agreed to put 80,000 in for the purchase of a Stewart Stevenson high water emergency vehicle, so I want to add that to the budget. 24.9, what we got here for the Ford Maverick, okay? It was, I think, around 29.5 or something, and we get a 5,000 trade-in, so I want to put that in the budget. And then Sean had to get a ice machine for Public Works, but he said, hey, take that out of my unused vehicle budget, so I'm gonna kind of in and out that, so that'll be a zero. Be a wash. So I'm in the process of drawing this up, so kind of look for those coming forward. It's really just kind of doing some housekeeping.
So for the old fire station, we've not put any money in for any changes over there? Or that'll be in next year's budget potentially, if we're gonna use that building?
Yeah, if we decide to keep it, we'd have to definitely do some renovations and cleanup for sure, so.
We were trying to figure out what to do with City Hall first.
And we budget for, I don't know, just any upkeep of that building if we have to pay electric or water or any of that.
Well, yeah, you gotta do
Well-
some kind of upkeep to keep it.
Yeah, just, but that's already covered.
Keep the
All
air
right.
conditioner running, whatever.
It's minimal.
Right now, it's coming out of the fire budget, so,
But we'll have to decide at budget time what we're gonna do with that and any
Yeah.
refurbs that have to be done.
Yep.
Okay.
so. In addition to that, I have some of these costs that we discussed here. I'm gonna do another budget amendment. It's gonna be a big one because, we don't have a budget for the debris hauling and all that in there, so I'm gonna have to do, that's gonna be a separate kind of to adjust my budget to what I anticipate happening.
Okay.
So, when I do that, I think my general fund, I'm gonna probably have to budget $1 million to cover those expenditures. Capital, about $870,000, that would include the 422 for renovating downstairs, plus we've already spent, if you look at this, 400 and some odd thousand, that's already spent, so, I'll be making those budget amendments later. One question I wanted to ask, as I go through, it's kind of hard to pluck, but I see that we budgeted $10,000 for boat parade this year. Boat parade would have come and gone, we haven't spent it, can ever move that from the budget, or do we need to keep it for any?
Can you give me another week or two on that? There's, Marine Max actually recently contacted us about potentially doing an event this summer, but they're still trying to figure out what they would propose. So if we can just put a pin in that one. Obviously, we would come to you all and say, this money's in the budget for the boat parade, we didn't do a boat parade, would you like to be a part of this other event? But they're still trying to figure out what they think we could do, so.
That's what's happening in finance.
Exciting stuff. All right, so that now is, are we clear? Okay, here it goes. Adjourned.